guys, welcome back to Are You Not Entertained? The answer probably being you are not. At time of recording, we've just literally watched Spurs West Ham game. Where to start? So, boys, I think we'll open by first of all, we'll beg people to follow us and to watch us and to subscribe to us.
We're not too proud to beg.
Yeah, we're too proud to beg. What does misery love? It loves company. All the other people who are actually struggling out there, and Spurs compounding it to the 10th degree. Please join us for a therapy session. We're more than happy to have you around. But yeah, let's touch on first, boys, the team selection. I mean, I popped a little tweet out. I feel like every week, without going into the Jose attack or anything, every week I'm questioning the selection. I'm confused by it. I don't understand some of the choices. But what did you guys think when you saw the team come out? Ollie, what was your first take or your first thought?
I mean, the first question is always the back four, isn't it? Really, because Lloris is always going to start. There's no one at Spurs at the minute who could sort of usurp him at the minute. Tanganga I thought was pretty good against Man City, so I thought, yeah, fair play to start him at right back. And then obviously with Regular being back fit, it's absolute no-brainer. As our best left back, probably one of our best players of this season. And it's just the two centre backs, really, isn't it? I mean, I don't even know who you pick anymore. I mean, maybe he's gone for Darren Sanchez, for the pace for Sanchez, maybe against Antonio. On paper, he should be better in the air. I don't know, unless he's just saying, I'm going to play these two now, and that's just going to be it, and I'm just going to stick with them through thick and thin. But I don't know. And then the rest of the team, yeah, I mean, obviously, Ndombele, Højbjerg's fair enough. Lucas Moura in the 10 doesn't work. Shouldn't be starting. I know he scored and he actually played quite well. But I think that was despite where he started, where he actually played on the pitch. Lamela, I thought, yeah, fair play. Would have liked to have seen Bale start, but I could again see why he didn't start because of fitness-wise, and then Son and Kane pit themselves.
And Pete, Ollie, it's interesting you say that. My opinion, and people, someone said it in Twitter, I think as well, said, Sanchez had to play over Toby because of his pace. Well, okay, but there's two centre backs playing. So if you decide that you have to play, you're forced to play Sanchez because of pace, then you have to play Toby next to him. Reason being, neither Sanchez nor Dyer understand the centre-half position well enough or understand where to position themselves, how to command a back line. They're completely inept. They're not talking to each other because they don't understand. If they are giving each other advice, it's probably wrong. So you need Toby to be playing there with them because otherwise they're just clueless. They don't know where to go. Pete, what did you make? I thought it was strange personally. I understand that Tanganga had a good game against City, I guess. I wasn't overly upset on that one, but I felt when Doherty was put in the Europa League Team of the Week, I think Bale also had a fantastic game. You talk about Bale not being up to speed; he needs games to do so. I'm confused as to why he didn't start that right flank, Bale and Doherty, because they're clearly building up a partnership. And if you're saying to Doherty, yeah, you had a good game, but you're not starting the next one, I feel like you're saying to him, you're not needed here. You're not needed. You sound like you've failed and now you may as well leave. Like that's the message I received, albeit him coming on at half time. What would you have started those two, Pete, or would you have done something differently?
Yeah, but I don't know. I understand Tanganga. I definitely would have started Bale. I think it's harsh on Doherty. I thought in the week he had his best game in Spurs shirt, albeit against a very poor side, let's be honest, who still causes problems. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get this. The way Jose manages, I don't understand it. He just seems to be constantly sucking people's confidence out of them from his decision making. Like you say, Bale and Doherty look solid together. So why not give them a chance? I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Like you tinkered so much, why not tinker a little bit more? Do you know what I mean? Like you've done nothing but tinker with your backline. Why not have another little try something different? Because everything you've done up to this point has not worked. So yeah, I'd have started them both probably.
Absolutely. Well, let's come away from the selection and the sort of discrepancies we have with that. Let's go into the game. And obviously we lost 2-1 to an Antonio goal and Jesse Lingard, which is horrible. I know he's come into a bit of form, come back and done okay, but I just don't rate Jesse Lingard, so it stings to see him score. We won't go through the goals. I mean, the first one was embarrassing, and the second one as well, to be honest. And both times, I think both centre halves were all over the shop, including other players as well. But we got one back in the second half. We looked a bit better. But yeah, let's kind of go through it. Your overall take on the game. Pete, will go for you first. What did you make of it? I mean, let's go from the first half and second half are very different. So what did you think of how we set up and then how we found ourselves in the second half?
I mean, I think it's easy to play well when you're 2-0 down. Like you can be brave on the ball and you can take risks and you can try and force passes that you're too cowardly to try and play at 0-0 or 1-0 for most of it. And I just thought it felt flat. I thought Højbjerg was awful first half. He was all over. So I still say I don't think he can play in a 2. I think we should be playing a 3. I do. I think if you want to dominate football matches, and we did do that in the second half, we dominated, but only because they sat in. But if you want to properly dominate football matches, then play a 3 or get a proper 10, because as soon as they went deep, you just didn't see a scoring. You couldn't see who was going to create. I thought Bale came on and was really, really good and was probably the only shining light, to be honest. I thought Lamela was hard done by in the first half. I thought he had a very good half, but got booked, which is probably why he came off. But yeah, like your big players just not turning up. Kane didn't do a lot. He had a few pop shots. Sonny has gone off the boil completely, which is why you want to see Bale come in and freshen it up and let Bale play with these very, very good players and stop chucking him in with Dross on a Thursday night. Let him play with your best players and see what he can do. But yeah, like you said, the centre halves all over the place. First goal, Dyer has to attack that ball. And you look back at the Liverpool game where he lets it come across him. He's let it come across him again. And Reece is like in two minds because he thinks, surely my centre half's going to attack this. And he should do better because it just hits him, bounces to Antonio. And then the second one is so bad. Sanchez goes so touch tight to Antonio, gets turned. He then follows Lingard, I think, Lingard goes inside and he goes with Dyer, who then spins it the other way. Dyer keeps going with Lingard and Sanchez comes across and goes with Lingard as well and just leaves 4 hours. And then somehow they've both gone with Lingard and let Lingard walk through and score. It's mental. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm not saying they're the only ones that play badly, but as a pair, they just do not work. There's just thick footballers, man, just stupid. And yes, this is the thing you were saying the other week, just about, yes, Jose knows better than us because he is a world-class manager who's won things at every level. But it doesn't mean he's always right. And like, to me, it's plain to see that those two cannot play together. And then you're changing your right back halfway through the game. So then all of a sudden you've got another partnership on the pitch and your back four that changes. And then you take your left back off and play 3 at the back, which they've probably never done before as a 3, I don't think. So then that completely changes. And I understand he's trying to change it and do something, but it just wasn't good enough.
The change to go to 3 centre halves, I thought that was ridiculous. And the main reason I thought that is because Doherty was getting joy. He was finding space in behind. He was getting high and him and Bale were working. That was your best attacking outlet. And you went, let's take that away and tell Doherty to be a centre half, throw Dele on and just put another body up there. Why? There was a plan. There was a system. There were transitions that were actually working that you didn't completely negated. So, yeah, the more... I did say that the other week, but the more I watch Mourinho, I know this is just after the games are a bit more upset, let's say a bit more emotional, but the more I watch what Jose does with his teams, and I'm not completely blaming him for this, the more I think he's out of touch. We've got, as we say, 2 absolutely, well, more than 2 awful centre halves who don't know how to defend. So we play a defensive system that puts more pressure on them. And I think it's the same thing with England. Why play this 4-2-3-1 as well? So I'm going on a tangent here, but why play this 4-2-3-1 when Kane plays 9 and 10? You don't need to. Give him the space. Play a 4-3-3. Let the centre mids have a bit more freedom. Keep the ball more. Play a more possession-based kind of football. And I know that's not Mourinho's style, but if you're a fantastic manager, you come in, you look at your players, and you design something around what you have. So I just... that first half, like Ollie, sorry, I'll come to you very quickly. That first half, I thought passes were slow, passes didn't have purpose. Like people like Tanguy, I thought he was off it today. In terms of, not that he wasn't still looking a bit tricksy and playing a couple of good balls through the lines, but a lot of the time he's just picking it up and playing a really slow pass to Højbjerg or a really slow pass to a fullback. There's no impotence. You're the centre mid. You breed it. You make it happen. You tell to the players and you pop it around. You make them up their intensity. Him and Højbjerg, I thought, were just off it. You can't cane a wings and crucify him and then watch two other centre mids not play very well and not say anything about it because they've got money in the bank. It's not fair. You have to do it pragmatically and as the games come. But Ollie, I know you saw a very different first half to what I saw, and you thought that it was a bit more positive. What did you see in the first half that you more enjoyed?
I think, you know, we talk about obviously how we played and whatnot. You know, West Ham didn't create; they created the two chances, and that was it. They scored them both. They ironically did what Mourinho tends to do to the big teams. We sit in, get 2 goals, and just bunker in, which is what exactly we kind of got Mourinho today, I thought. But yeah, I thought we did have a lot of the ball. We're dead right. That for me, that's why I was confident going to the second half that we would score and would turn up, because I thought we had quite a solidish foundation from the first half. We kept the ball. It was moving. It wasn't short, sharp, snappy football, but at least we had the ball. Now we had sort of control in that sense. And then with the right sub in the second half, I felt we would have pushed on. But we've come out second half, see a couple of subs, which we were a bit unsure on, but initially I thought they worked. Bringing on Bale and Doherty, wasn't it, at half? And then they scored, and it just fucked it all up straight away. And I think it's happened a couple of times now. I think we've come out and conceded straight away after making positive changes. I mean, they were, again, like Pete said with the second goal, a complete mix-up, sort of in the right back position, which then just set it all up. But Bale played well. I think, just sort of curtailing onto your point about the 4-3-3, I think Lo Celso is probably the biggest miss for us at the minute, in terms of player-wise, because I think he actually allows us to play a 4-3-3. Him, Højbjerg, and Ndombele would on paper be a phenomenal 3. But we're not had a chance. I think we've seen it once, didn't we, in the Europa League, and since then it's been injuries to Lo Celso. But with Kane, that he allows you that luxury to play like that, and it's a shame that we've not got, the trust in Winks to play that, because I think he could potentially be one who could pop into a 3 maybe, if he's not relied on to defend. And then he brings on Dele Alli, and he stunk the place out as usual.
He did one touch, didn't he, right at the end, where he tried to flick it with the outside of his boot on the edge of the area, and I thought Mourinho was going to crucify you for that.
Because it's just lazy. It's lazy. And I don't know if you boys saw this, actually. It popped around into my group chat with my friends about this unknown England player who's addicted to like sleeping pills and whatnot. And it's been like going around in the media. He's like tanking his Premier League career. And a couple of my friends said that could be him, because it seems like it could be him. His play looks lethargic, energy. We say about when Lamela kicks ball, he's got no power. I mean, nor's Dele. You see him try to cross one, it bounced for it, it's the box. Do you know what I mean? It's just crap. Yeah. And then you look at that and you think, well, you've got Vinicius on the bench who's hungry, he's just scored. Maybe he was the better chance, but as of all things, he's damned for Mourinho. If he doesn't bring him on and he picks Vinicius, it's why not playing Dele, yada yada yada, because English media all right up his bum, didn't they? So it's a difficult one, and I'm normally optimistic one. I was optimistic before. I said to you boys before the game, I was quite excited for today. And then in the first 5 minutes of both halves, we lost the game. And that's it. We lost the game in 10 minutes today, I thought.
No, I think you make some good points for a lot. Yeah, we do miss Joe, but every team misses players. And you only look at Liverpool for the joke of the season they're having because of injuries. I think the subs, to be fair to Jose, I put that in-game management is something I worry about with him quite often. The subs were fine. Apart from, I wouldn't have brought on Dele for Reguilon. I would have brought him on for Moura. I know Moura scored, but I think the shape was starting to develop and was starting to look okay. I think he screwed with that change. But the players he brought on were the 3 players you'd expect. But I heard Hoddle said something interesting. I think it was Glenn Hoddle anyway, the other day, and it was in one of our games. Mourinho obviously made a couple of changes at halftime, or he made one change at halftime, and he said, yes, it is impressive for a manager to do that in-game management, but often you're making a change at halftime because you realise you got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're making those halftime changes, 90% of the time it's because you made a mistake. I think you should be pragmatic and it's in-game, but if it's in-game changes at halftime constantly, then you need to realise, okay, actually I'm getting the lineups consistently wrong. And that's where it looks like to me. I know the players were awful, well, especially defensively, and until we got Bale on the pitch, nothing was really happening. So let's take a positive. I don't really want to go on to Delhi because, yeah, he did stink the place out. But Bale looked fantastic. Now, I was screaming at my telly, and this has annoyed me with Tanguy a bit as well, and Højbjerg. They were often still turning left. Go right. You've got a thoroughbred here who's playing fantastically. You've got Sonny on the left, who, yes, has been good this season, but was not doing it. Bale was causing problems every single time he got the ball. And we were shifting. And I see Bale a couple of times pull out a little bit wider or go and just go, why not give it to me? And I understand you've got to earn that right, but it felt to me that after about 15 minutes of him playing, it was like, just give it to him. Just give it to him because he's the one who's going to make something happen, no one else. Maybe Kane, but he was putting in fantastic deliveries, by the way, that people just weren't getting to. Sonny, in that respect, especially looked off the pace. But yeah, let's just quickly on Bale. Who would like to praise our king, the old legend? I feel like he really brought it today. That strike, by the way, when he hit the bar was that was proper. Talk about power in your legs. His power looked back.
It's quite ironic.
He shouldn't even had to have that strike. That ball should have been in the back of the net. Delhi should have got there, or Kane. You said Kane should have played it earlier to Sonny, who's just running onto it and hasn't got a tap in. But yeah, he looked good, man. He looked really, really good, and it's really nice because like a week or so ago we were going, oh, he just doesn't want it. Who were we playing? Was it Brighton when he just wanted to get off the pitch?
Yeah, it was Brighton game.
He fancied it, and all of it. I don't know if someone's had a word in his ear or his agent's been out talking again, hasn't he? He's always got something to say, that man.
Did you hear his agent's quotes? Did you hear him the other day around it was terrible.
Yeah.
He basically said, why like the question to him was like, why do you think Bale's slowed down a bit? Why is he not playing as well? And he kind of answered back by saying, look, he's coming to the end of his career and then started talking about look how much money he's earned.
His agent's a joke, isn't he? He's such a joke.
His agent.
What are you doing? That's not going to help Bale. But I actually feel like in a way, maybe Bale went, why have you said that? And then he's come out and performed because of it. Maybe we need to come and chirp up with stupid shit more often. Bale might come out and perform. Exactly. So I'll tell you what, before we come away from the game, because to be honest, I don't want to talk about it too much. It's horrible. But moving forward, how do you go about it? Like, because in my mind, in fact, I'll ask you first, and then I'll say what I would do in terms of moving forward. A couple of players I would like to see play more. Obviously, Bale's going to be one, and a little tinkering to shape. Would it be, Pete, that you would like to see him come out and change the centre-back partnership, perhaps? Does the shape need to be 4-3-3? The style, like in a sort of like condensed area, what would you do? What would you change up?
Everything? No. To be fair, there is no style. We don't have a playing style. Again, in that first half, I don't know what the plan was. It wasn't get it wide. It wasn't really counter. It was nothing. It was just move the ball side to side. If you can go forward a little bit, go forward a little bit. So they have to up the intensity, and I don't know how much that's on him and the players, but that needs changing. I personally would play Toby next to Rodon for the rest of the season. And I think just let this kid play, or Tanganga next to Toby, either one. Let one of these kids play and learn off of the only decent centre-half we currently have. And I would play a 3 in the middle. I would. I think we can be too passive in games. And I think being in a 2 kills both of our centre midfielders because it makes Tanguy has to be more switched on defensively, which kills a lot of his creativity because he knows he can't go too far, because if he does, he just leaves Højbjerg on his own. And Højbjerg can't charge and press like he would do if he was in a 3 because he knows there's only Tanguy protecting him. So them 2 in a 2, I don't think they work as a 2. I think they have to have a third man in there to give him a little bit more protection. Tanguy to push forward a bit more, get on and go beat a man, because he's not really been taking people on. He can take a touch and he'll do a spin and he'll go side to side. But when he's properly on it, he takes people on and he goes forward. But he now knows if I do that and I play a pass and maybe I lose the ball from my pass or someone else loses the ball, they're in against Højbjerg and he's on his Todd. So he can't do that now. So that side of his game's been killed. And Højbjerg, when he was playing really well, was in a free and he was squeezing and pressing people all over the pitch. So I don't think it works. So I definitely would go to a free. And whether you play Sissoko and just have legs or you play Winks and actually have someone with a little bit of footballing ability, I don't mind. But I think it would get more out of the other two. It's all very well saying Winks isn't good enough or Sissoko's not good enough. But actually their presence would free up the other two to be better than they have been in the last 4 or 5 weeks for me. So that's what I would do. And I'd start Bale, 100%.
No, I completely agree. And like you say, you just commit to Gareth and you do the red nap, put a donkey on him in training and let him be him and just tell him how good he is every single minute of that training session. Wow, what a strike, Gareth. That was superb. Play that pass. Oh, do you know what? It didn't get to him, but my God, he should have got there because your pass was wicked. It weren't your fault. Just absolutely praise him to the nines. Pete, to be honest with you, I completely agree with everything you just said. To be honest, and let them, like we spoke about in previous times, let the front three stay a little bit further forward, because if you're going to be a bit more solid, and let's say Mourinho does, okay, I'll do a slightly higher block, but still a somewhat defensive setup, let the front three terrify that back line. Because let them, if they come forward, shit me, if the ball gets back up the pitch and Bale, Son and Kane are coming at you, you are concerned. I don't care who you are, you're worried, you're scared, because something's going to happen. So I know Bale is a bit of a fitness thing and so on, but just do everything you can to get that boy playing. Ollie, what would you do? Would you do anything different to what Peter said, or shall we concur and move on?
Well, the problem we've got is we've all grown up together, so we all see football the exact same way. So I'm going to disagree with everything.
Not always, because you like that.
For the sake of the episode, I'm going to disagree with you on every single point. The only thing for me, I would say, like I think you bang on with the 4-3-3. I think that's got to be our best formation. And we played our best football at the start of the season when we had Højbjerg, Sissoko, and Ndombele. And like you say, if the all three of them together are better with Sissoko being there, then that's fine. You don't mind it. It's when you've got Sissoko on his own in the two, and like you say, the three of them split up in different areas of the two. In terms of the sort of back line, obviously getting Reguilon back is going to be massive. Finding consistency at right back is going to be a big issue as well, because we can't seem to agree. With Aurier, Doherty, Tanganga, who's going to be that sort of right back. And to be fair, it looks like Jose stuck with the centre halves from the Man City game, and they've cocked up again. So it's all well and good saying fine to build a partnership, but then we can't jump on the back of them every time I make a mistake. So if he said, fine, I'm going to stick with these two, as fans, we can't call for that and then moan about it at the same time, because he's stuck with them and they've made mistakes again. So again, this is very difficult. Do you ride again and you say, right, you go again and we see what happens? Or do you change it and then we moan about the changes? So that's the only, as Mourinho, that's the hardest bit, is that centre half, that two, because when they keep making mistakes, fans get on the back, he needs changes. When he makes changes, fans get on the back for making changes. And it's like, I don't know what the answer is there. But I think Alderweireld has to play. He's our best centre-half. And then probably, with him, you'd probably go Sanchez, because he, on paper, is the better defender than Rodon for me. But they've both got mistakes in them, so I don't know. But, in attack, yes, get Bale on, and get like Bergwijn as well, man. I'm just crying out for Bergwijn. I mean, for Bale as well, the two West Ham games, he should have scored to make it 4-0, and he should have scored today. And you just think, he is so close to having one just drop in, and that's it, and he's back. But it hasn't happened for whatever reason.
Should have scored today is harsh.
Well, yeah, okay, fine. You know what I mean. But he scored today, hit the bar.
Could have scored. Sweet
strike. The one against the first West Ham one, he should have scored.
Yes, he should have.
And there's another one. Was it the last game he should have scored as well? Was it the Europa League? Maybe he went through and he put one wide. I don't know what that was, but
he had a okay chance again. A bit more of a snapshot. Yeah. I wouldn't say it was, but yeah, I think the first West Ham one, City one, that was superb again. But yeah, the half chances that he's making look a bit bigger, especially the one today, because thunderous strike. I think it's interesting as well, before we tail off, to say Sissoko and Bergwijn both out of the squad today. Aurier's got a real injury concern, hasn't he? Which is weird, because he was clipped coming back to training. There's pictures of him on the Instagram, etc. And then it's a few weeks on, he's not back. It's an odd one.
Worse than they thought, or he made it worse by rushing. Exactly
that. But Sissoko and Bergwijn both being out of the squad.
Such a bloody physio. Such a physio.
We have a union. Got support too.
Shall we roll through then, chaps, and move on to the world of football? Right, welcome to the world of football. We're going to it. I'm going to just talk about a few things. One's going to be, well, both are quite big for us, I suppose, for everyone should be really. But the first one we'll talk about is Zaha. Really interesting quotes from him, coming out and saying that he's not going to take the knee. And my first reaction was like, oh, why is he doing that? Why is he like going against something that I personally think is a really nice touch? When I go on social media, I see people moaning about it, and I think, good, all right, if you're going to moan about it, let's have at it. and let's go for it. But he's come out and what were the basics of it, guys? He basically essentially said that, he doesn't want to take the knee, but what was his reasonings behind it?
So he says here, so the quote goes, I've said before that I feel like taking the knee is degrading and stuff, because growing up, my parents just let me know that I should be proud to be black, no matter what I feel like, and we should all just stand tall.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Because say that I feel like taking the knee now is becoming more of just something we do before a game. And it's like even people forget sometimes because they're focused on the game. So
I think it is an interesting point. I like, far be it for me to argue against him, but I do like that they still take the knee. I think the longer they do it, the more it's frustrating people, and the people it frustrates, I think, well, why is it upsetting you? And that's an opening. Like, well, if it's upsetting you, tell me why. Why are you upset about the fact that they're doing this for 2 seconds before a game that takes literally zero problems for you to then give a platform for people to speak about racism and try and eradicate it? So if it upsets you and you then vocalize it, then I think, okay, perfect, you're the one that we need to talk to, and you're the one we need to combat and almost educate. But I get what Zaha's saying. Pete, what do you make of it? I think it'd be interesting. I'll give sort of my opinion afterwards. What do you make of what he said?
To be honest, I completely understand where he's coming from. In my head, to try and rationalize it and understand it, I was thinking. So, I'm a teacher. So, at our school, a lot of talk about this. This is me really trivializing it to understand it more in my head, to make it simple for me. So they always talk about the things that you put up on your walls for display and stuff. And if you don't use it, then what's the point in it being there? Because it just becomes like wallpaper, and the kids don't notice it. You don't notice it. It's just there on the walls. It may as well just be a blank wall if it's not being used. And I feel like that's what he's saying about taking the knee. It's just something they do at the start of the game. It's not. It's like you say, it might be getting small conversations happening, but is it going to tackle the big stuff that's going on in the world, where week after week after week, players are coming out and saying, look at these tweets I've been sent. Look at this, it's been put in my DMs. It's not okay, sort of thing. So I understand where he's coming from. Similarly to the wearing the Let's Kick It Out t-shirts. He's great, but if it's not doing anything, if it's just start of a conversation between one or two people, then great, at least someone's having that conversation. But whether is it having the big, long-lasting impact that people want it to have? Probably not. So I don't know. I completely understand where he's coming from. However, that's fine, but come with something else then. Bring me suggestions of other ways that we can fix it. I completely get it. I know what he's saying, but it's like we say with Jose. Okay, moan what he's doing, but what would you do differently? Don't you moan about it? So I get what he's saying, but I also understand what you're saying about how it is making a real big statement, and it's massive for players at such an elite level to be doing it, and all of the players doing it as well.
No, don't.
In one club as well. Hasn't a club said they're not going to do it as well? Sorry.
Oh, I didn't know.
They're not going to do it.
Who?
Brentford are the first team, so they're not.
Brentford, that was it.
It's interesting. He does talk a bit more. Actually, there's a bit more here. So, and he's basically talked about what you just said there, Pete. he says, he's like, I'm not here just to kick boxes. He says, unless action is going to happen, then don't speak to me about it. Seems fair. So I get what you're saying. I said to Sarah, actually, my partner, that my worry with it is it would just become numb to it. People just be like, okay, well, turn the next, like, move on. And it's that kind of, and that's why I feel like he's saying what he's saying, because it does feel a bit like that. People forget, but sorry, I've got to run back, and down we go and off we go. And it's a bit like, is that itself fighting racism, or is that the Premier League doing their standard? Hey, we're doing this stuff, and we're doing this stuff, like, kick it out, all that sort of stuff, like stand, all those sorts of things that you kind of feel like is a bit PR-y.
It's a bit like the national anthem before England games, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just something they do at the start of the game that no one's really interested in.
It's just enough to say that we've done our bit, type of thing. And so, it's really, really difficult, because I think you're right on both sides. Do you know what I mean? The whole point of it, everyone should stand together, which is exactly right. And that's exactly what it's trying to achieve. But is actually achieving that? Well, it's impossible to actually quantify it anyway. So as me personally, I'm quite a sort of scientific person, you can't quantify it. It's like saying, we can't prove it works, we can't prove it doesn't work. And it's that kind of like, well, yeah, fair enough. So it's like, that's the difficulty, I think, for me of that. It's right. I get it, and that if it works, then great, carry on doing it. But you can't prove it doesn't work, and you can't prove it does.
First of all, you both started off on a stance and then found yourself, you've gradually put yourself on defences, and I'm not happy with either of you. Because you made a point and then you went at the end, but actually, I think I agree with both sides and so on. I disagree with a lot of the things you guys said, to be honest. Like, Pete, I know you're saying that, it's a small thing and then it becomes wallpaper. I like that kind of analogy, etc. But I think all these things coming out from the players, how often are we now seeing, I'm not saying this is a good thing, by the way, but I'm saying it could be. How often we're seeing players happy to come out and say, I've been racially abused on this social media platform, throwing out every single time. We're seeing it. It's so prevalent right now. It's everywhere and it's rife. And that's the fucking problem. So they're coming out, and I feel like this stance, the Premier League hasn't just said, we're against it. They've said, we're going to do something every single game. Every single game we're going to mention it, and every single game we're going to put it right in your face. And that's why it's happening so often. And then off the back of that, you start your warpath. That's what I think you have to do. This constant barrage of racist abuse that the players are all coming out and fighting against, as a bit of a unit, and the Premier League going against it, I think that's a huge platform, and that has got to push towards social media. So off the back of this, yes, what you need to see is change from the social media platform saying we need to be accountable for these things. Everyone who has a social media account has to put their passport on it, or everyone has to have ID that you can't just have a football Twitter account with a picture of Sanchez and then say racist comments to someone. It's not possible. That needs to change. So that's the big thing. So I actually think it's a very positive thing. Not saying to Zaha, you can't stand up when this happens. That's wrong. Saying that I think the Premier League should carry on doing this as long as possible. Just keep doing it, because it's pissing people off. And that's how you cause the hard conversations. So that would be my stance on it. Like, I just think keep doing what you're doing, but then increase it, up it, and do as much as you can, because it's not just down to the Premier League to fight racism. It like the whole country, the government has to get on board. So the more pressure they put onto them, the better.
Then surely they have to now step up and do something more then, if you're saying that. And if Zaha's saying it's not enough, so fine. But then I'm saying to you again, what are you bringing more than that?
But what can the Prem do to change social media? They can't put pressure on Facebook, and they can put pressure on Facebook, Twitter, etc. But they can't force them to do it. Yeah. So it needs to just give it as much publicity as possible, put it out there, and it's getting more and more. Every time I'm looking on BBC News, every time I'm looking, BBC Sport, every time I'm looking like Premier League News, there's always one of these stories, and there's always something about it. Zaha coming out and doing these quotes, etc., and then Sky Sports talking about it on Sky Sports News and so on. The more conversations you have, the better, and eventually something has to happen, but it has to be from the government. It can't be from the Premier League. Like, they can only put so much like at the door of Boris Johnson, of Bojo, for him to then react to it. That would be my thoughts.
I do agree with you. I think massively social media needs to be tidied up, and you have to be accountable.
So simple, isn't it?
However, that is also just kind of putting it just pushes people further down. It's still there. It's not going to not be there because you stop people doing it on social media. You're just pushing it underground. And to completely change it, then the government needs to do more in terms of education, because that's where it needs to come from. Because like the kids I teach, they don't come to school racist. That does not happen. They play happily with all creeds, all colours within school at the primary school age. Racism comes as they get older because it's pushed upon them by people around them. Simple as that. So social media needs to do more, and I agree with you, it needs to come from the government, because if you're not pushing it from there, and like I'm well aware of it. In terms of me, what I teach, there's not enough Black history in the curriculum, in the school curriculum. There isn't. And so like as a school, we've tried to put more of that into it as much as we can, because it's not there enough. And if it is taught, what's the first thing you get taught about Black history? Slaves. But that is not Black history. That is a tiny, tiny, tiny part of Black history. So much of it comes back to the government. I mean, we've gone massively off on a tangent, because this is not, it's come from the world of football. We're using the world of football to talk about it, but it goes way above football. Yeah. Way above football.
No, absolutely, because you're right. It then becomes systemic, and you need to put laws in place where these people are not just held accountable by the social media side, but also outside of it. And then you have laws, you have punishments, etc. And that's how you train someone out. You train people like a dog. You got to whack them on the nose and they do something wrong. Like,
Pavlov's dog.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of idea. And praise them when they do good.
Within the school, then you said obviously like coming from the curriculum and stuff like that. So, am I right in thinking that if you were to teach it, for example, is it in an exam? You see what I mean? So then you can teach it, but the kids aren't graded on it, so they don't kind of need to know it. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, because most teaching, it comes from, to pass exam, isn't it, realistically? So the government basically saying that it's not an exam curriculum, so you don't need to know about it, therefore it's not important. Is that kind of right? Am I thinking that?
Not necessarily. Like, it depends, because you will teach. So the stuff that you would teach is you've got English, maths. That's what you do SATs on at the end of year 6. You don't do SATs on English, geography, history, geography, that sort of thing. So there is a curriculum there of history of what to teach, but your history is the Vikings, the Romans, that sort of stuff. And it's just not enough in there. There's not enough in there. And we've ended up doing it as like PSHE lessons, and you've got like where you have to be good citizens and that sort of thing, and you teach that side of it. So we tried to do it through that, but yeah, it's not in there, man. It's not in there at all.
And that's just primary school as well, isn't it? Like secondary school, if you know, I can somewhat remember.
You marked off that, aren't you?
Yeah.
I don't know the secondary curriculum like I know the primary curriculum.
But from my like history doing it at school, I can not really remember much about Black. And like I've been like reading up on things and learning about like a Black man who invented this, a Black man who invented that. I never knew that in my life, and I'd be like, what? So, for example, like the light bulb, the material that's used inside of it, so it can stay alight for however long time, was created by a Black man. Never knew that. You understand?
That was Holding, wasn't it?
Exactly. He said that, and I just thought, wow. And then I looked deeper. I looked into a bunch of these, and there's so many like that could be taught, and like English Black people as well that could be taught about, but just aren't. And then I thought the government got something pushed them, didn't they? Which was like a big petition on doing a bit more in terms of Black history and teaching it in the curriculum. And they said, no, there's enough. That's so thick to me, because that was such an easy win. That was such an easy win as a government, like to be like, do you know what? Yeah, we're happy to do that. We'll put a little bit more of it in the curriculum. That's not difficult. And people will be like, oh, at least they're open to change. So stupid to be like, no, especially in this current time when obviously the pressure is so heavily on the government and people are so upset with them. Take a win when you bloody get it. Like, be smarter. But let's try and come away from the chat, because we could chew your ear off all day about such a subject. But let's go into a bit one that I'm solemn about straight away. Lots of rumours about Kane and Son. So let's bring it back to Spurs a bit. So much talk about it. You tweeted, Ollie, just before the Spurs game just now, already talking about it.
How long it came
immediately. And I'm seeing like a bit about PSG. It's an easy rumour to make, to say, oh, Poch wants to come and get Kane or Son or Lloris, etc. It's very easy rumour to make. So I don't know about those ones, but I agree with the idea that Kane and Son at the start of this season, let's say the first 15 games of the season, best we've seen them play. The world was watching. Teams are watching. They're going to both be wanted by anyone. Why are they going to want to stay with us? Why are they going to want to stay with Spurs when in a team like this, with Mourinho at the helm, seemingly not enjoyable football to play, results are bad right now. In fact, the results are worse than when Poch got sacked.
Yep.
I just think, I agree with it. And the COVID situation, money-wise, I'm hearing rumbles from some big characters that at least one big player is going to have to be sold. Genuinely, it's worrying times. I think Spurs fans could be slightly naive to the fact that this is seriously concerning, in that if we come to the end of this season and we haven't had any success in terms of Europa League and League Cup, we've not won a trophy, and we finished like mid-table like we are now, 9th, 10th, why is Reguilon going to want to stay with us instead of going back to Madrid? Absolutely no reason. Why is Kane going to want to stick around? One of the best players on the planet right now. No reason that I can see, apart from the fact that he loves the club, which I get, but that only goes on for so long. Why is Sonny going to want to stay when he's burying goals this season and people are talking about him like he's potentially the best winger in the Premier League for this year? I can't give you a reason. I can't give you one. Like
money.
Ollie, you get money, but we don't have the biggest money, do we? Either.
Yeah,
so
but
like,
not everyone else. That's the. I mean, I actually had a reply to the tweet I put out actually talking about this, and the chap sort of said that he felt like, where was it? So you've got 2 finals in 6 years, is below their level. No fight for league titles, complete capitulation. I don't blame them. We're a poison chalice. We're a terrible coach, and even worse owners. I thought it was a bit extreme, but my argument really is, if we get into cup finals and they're not turning up, then you can't. You only look at yourself. You know what I mean? That was my big issue with stuff like that. Like, yes, these players are fantastic players. And don't get me wrong. I'm not slating them. But if you get to, say we get to now the League Cup final we're in, that's the 3rd final, and the Europa League. If we get to 4 finals, don't win one with those 2 players in there, at what point do they have to look at themselves and think, yeah, we didn't turn up? As well as saying they deserve to be in there. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's kind of a counterproductive argument to me, because if you've got to 4 finals in your career, lost every one, and yes, you can blame your teammates, but at the same time, you've got the ability to then just score a goal to drag them through, that type of thing. If you don't do it, at what point can you just go, oh, well, I deserve better? I would say, if I was Kane, say like the PSG rumour, for example, let's say Mbappe and Neymar are there. If I'm Kane, I'm saying, well, if I go into that PSG team, I probably don't have to turn up in that final. The pressure isn't on me to turn up because Mbappe will get a goal, or Neymar will get a goal, or I'll get a goal. And it's not too as much of a worry. And the players behind me are high quality. So the argument would be, if I'm around better players, the pressure's off me, playing with freedom, more relaxed. I know it's going to be stressful in a cup final regardless, but that would be my argument if I was one of those players. Yeah.
Pete, can you give me a viable reason as to why I shouldn't be so worried about Kane, Son, Reguilon, these sort of players wanting out? Please.
I think Reguilon will jump ship, and I think Tanguy will jump ship as well, to be honest. I think if you are, because they both come in at a time where they don't know Spurs properly. Do you know what I mean? Like, they play behind closed doors. Reguilon's never played in front of Spurs fans, and Ndombele has a bit. So without that, you don't feel the love for the club that you would normally, that affiliation. And that's what might keep Kane and Son. Kane will not go to PSG.
No.
He won't go abroad. I don't think he'll go abroad. I think he's so desperate to beat Shearer's record that he'll stay in England. And that potentially, if no suitors come in for him in England, that would keep him at Spurs. Because I think he'd rather stay and play for Spurs. I think he'd rather stay and play for Spurs and keep scoring goals in the Premier League and try and break Shearer's record than go and win stuff in France.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally. And I think Son, I don't know, I just think there's a lot to be said for loyalty. I am worried. But Sonny doesn't seem the type that his head would get turned. Kane, maybe. I know he loves the club, but he's got this. I think his winning mentality is bigger than Son's, personally.
If Kane is offered Man City and they say, we'll pay 100 million, 150 million for you, I think he would go, because you're going to score 40 goals a season in that team. Like, they don't even play with a striker.
So many.
I don't even play with strikers. Imagine put Harry Kane in there. And if you put him up front with Mane and Salah at Liverpool, another one. he is Firmino, but he can actually score goals. Like he's one of the only players in the planet that would be better in that Liverpool team than Firmino for me.
He improves anyone. Kane improves him.
But these two are winning machines generally already. So he's gonna make it. So, but yeah, I think Man City is the ones to be worried about personally, because I think they have got the finances, even in COVID times, to splurge 150 million on Harry Kane, because that will be the biggest problem. No one can afford to pay that money for him that we're going to want. And if we sell him for anything less than 100 million, there'll be riots in Tottenham around the stadium because we've had our pants pulled down.
I would with City though. I would say historically they've not actually paid big money on one player. Yeah. They will happily go out and pay like 50 million for like 3 or 4. But I think their record sign isn't even as large as ours.
65 on Diaz, I think 65 on Diaz.
Yeah, and obviously it's all stupid money, but they've not got to that point where like a PSG would just be like, yeah, fuck it.
Well, weren't they willing to pay for Messi? Am I right thinking that, Man City, or not? Was that a rumor?
No, because the contract and so on.
His contract was going to be out, wasn't it?
Right, it was a rumor, yeah.
Exactly, they're paying huge salaries, but they're a little bit smarter in their transfers and how they do.
They got caught by financial fair play, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they're a little bit slyer. Let's say then. Yeah. But chaps, I think if you're happy
on that happy note,
on that, if you're happy, and that's a big if, we'll roll into doing a couple of predictions. We've got Europa and then Burnley that we can do a quick one on. Right, so I think, boys, for the Europa League one, we'll just give a score. We won't do a niche prediction, just so the people know, by the way. And I am proud of it, but I'm not proud of it. I'm proud of it because my football knowledge is exceptional, but I'm not proud of it because my team lost again. So for that game, for the West Ham, I said 2-1 to the Spurs, but I also said the niche thing would be Bale getting injured, and I'm very happy to be wrong about that. Actually, the niche thing was that Bale shone and turned up, so much better. I think, Pete, you went for 2-2.
I went 2-2 and Reguilon to get sent off. I was a goal and a yellow card away.
Yeah, not too far off. And then this lunatic over here who saw everything he'd seen in previous said to him, Spurs win here. And what was your prediction?
I went for glorious 2-1 with Bale to score. And I was about that far away from getting my niche correct.
Yeah, this is true. We're all, both of us in and around Bale, but not quite getting it right. But
very different reasons.
Yeah, very different reasons indeed. So we've got the Wolfsberger. The Wolfsberger we're playing against. In the week, we're 4-1 up. Should be able to give players some game time.
Yeah.
Let them play. I'll be gutted, by the way, if
Bale starts.
If Bale starts and if Toby starts, I will be really upset. Huh?
He's starting. He's starting.
I think Toby will start, and I'm worried Bale will as well. And you just think, why, please? But anyway, that game could go anyway.
Bale wouldn't be a bad thing, I don't think, personally.
Maybe 1/2. Yeah. 1/2 I'll be happy with. Just to watch him play more than anything. But just do a scoreline. I mean, it could be anything because we don't know what the team's going to be. Knowing Jose will probably play like pretty much full strength and be like we needed to. I'll go 3-1 Spurs. And I think it could be a bitty game. Might be even less goals than that and quite boring, but we'll see. I'll go 3-1. Ollie, what are you thinking?
Pete, you go first. I'll let you go first, Pete.
I'll go weakened team 2-2, and they'll be winning for most of it, and they'll be a little bit nervy, and then someone will pop up with a goal, and everyone will be calm again.
I think we'll have a slightly weakened team, but I still think we'll win 3-0.
3-0. Nothing conceded after that defence.
Clean sheet.
A clean sheet.
Because Alderweireld's going to play. And we're going to have
our
best centre-half's going to be playing the Europa League.
Right, fair play. Let's go into the Burnley game. Oof, I mean,
are we
not great. I watched Burnley against who'd they play?
West Brom.
Just at West Brom, and West Brom should have beaten them with 10 men.
Yeah,
West Brom had missed some sitters. Burnley are not looking a solid side. They were so open, by the way, considering they're this team that are like strong, hardy, Sean Dyche side that defends well and is able to grind out some clean sheets. There were goals available. So if you score first, you have to be beating that team, and we should be scoring first. But God knows that I'm not confident. So I'm actually going to say we nick a 2-1 win. We nick one. And that is on the premise that Jose listens to a couple of things we say. At the very least, playing in that game. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. And the niche thing I'll say is that the winner we score is after the 85th minute. That's what I'll go for.
Nice. Go on, Ols.
I'm going to go 1-0, just because it seems the most unlikely result. So I think that's what's going to happen. We're gonna score a terrible goal. So my niche prediction: we're going to score an awful goal. It's going to be some proper scrappy,
yeah,
into and roll in the corner type of goal, on top of an abject performance.
Hey.
I'm going to go
5-0.
I'm going to go for 3-1 to Spurs.
Yeah.
And Gareth Bale to bag a brace. That's going to be my niche.
Oh, I hope that one's right.
I mean, if Bale suddenly turns it on, we've got a good chance to do top 10, I would say.
Yeah. This season's a write-off, isn't it? He just needs to...
Mourinho has come out, I've just seen, just on the little notes here, talking about getting the top 4 and Bale saying, until it's mathematically impossible, we're going to keep trying.
I mean,
that's like the kiss of death from the chairman saying that the manager has their full backing, and then they get sacked 2 weeks later.
He says, of course, our team has problems, and the problems they have reflect on the results and on the points. But I also believe that a little bit of the light, a little bit of that luck you also need has to be on the way back. Because we were lucky today, hit the bar, hit the post for that weird little looper that bounced out to nobody.
And on that note, let's get out of here.
A little bit of luck, boys, all we need.
Tanani.
Please love us, everyone. If you stayed this long, you really are a true Spurs fan.
Absolutely. And keep your head up, keep your chin up. Good times are coming in 3-4 years.
Just around the corner.
Exactly. All the best. Pleasure, guys. Awkward
boys.